get started. Hello and welcome to Solar Alberta's 2022 Solar Show. Today's session is called Navigating Community Generation. Please note that we have enabled closed captioning for this presentation. You can turn the captioning on in the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. My name is Mackenzie Velders and I am the Public Awareness and Communications Assistant at Solar Alberta. I would like to take a minute to acknowledge that I am hosting you today from Fort McMurray, Alberta, which is located on Treaty 8 territory and the homelands of the Métis. Treaty 8 territory is the traditional gathering place and home of many Indigenous peoples, including the Cree and Dene, nations whose ancestors have cared for and nurtured these lands since time immemorial. Please note that we will be recording this session and making it available on our website and YouTube channel following the show. We were delighted to have so many people register for this week and for this event. To start, we would like to thank City of Edmonton Change for Climate for sponsoring the 2022 Solar Show and the City of Calgary for sponsoring this session in particular. We are happy and grateful to have them both as sponsors. Following the presentation today, there will be a Q&A period in which you can all participate. The formal Q&A will run until about 1:15, and then we will be inviting you to join us for an additional 15 minutes and a more relaxed Zoom meeting Q&A at the end. The link for the extended Q&A will be posted in the chat at the end of the formal Q&A, and I will draw your attention to it at that time. So please make sure to click on the link before leaving the webinar. The entire session will wrap up in an hour and a half. As this is an online conference and trade show, I would like to encourage you all to check out our online trade show during the week. We've listed here all the wonderful organizations who are participating in the trade show. To view their exhibitor booths, which include a listing of key solar related services, contact info, and video introductions, please click on the link in the chat. During our formal Q&A period, we will be using Zoom Q&A for questions rather than the chat box, so please enter your questions in the Q&A section. Also, please click on the little thumbs up symbol to upvote questions you like. Before we move forward, we are going to do a quick poll to get a sense of who we have joining us today. Please take a minute to answer the question popping up on your screen. And I will share that now. In the meantime, I encourage you to also take a minute and pop your name, land acknowledgement, and any contact info you're comfortable sharing in the chat now and throughout the event so that others can look you up on LinkedIn and some relationships can begin to be formed. Excellent. So the answers are coming in for that poll. We'll give it a few more minutes or seconds, and then I'll share it with our panelists so they can see who's joining us. It looks like we have a lot of solar curious individuals, a few solar industry professionals. We have a mix of people who are joining us for the first time and some who have been here for a few events in the past. Excellent. Lots of you are excited for tomorrow's lunch hour session about affordable residential solar financing. And I hope to see some of you at the Solar Show networking night tomorrow evening as well. Perfect. So we'll end that poll now. And I'll share the results so our panelists can see who we have joining us. Perfect. There we go. Now I'll close that. And now for a little about Solar Alberta. Did you know that this is Solar Alberta's 31st year of operation? Solar Alberta is a not-for-profit society that is dedicated to accelerating Alberta's transition to a just and sustainable energy future. We do so by advocating, educating, and serving as an industry and community hub. Our membership is made up of over 350 individuals and businesses. We provide a number of services, including managing a solar directory through our website. In this way, we act as a bridge for installers and suppliers to connect with their customers and clients. You can see a screenshot of the directory here on this slide. In addition to our website services, we run a number of educational programs such as the Solar Seminar Series, new multilingual Solar 101 workshops, including one in Hindi that is planned for February 23rd. And of course, we also host this incredible annual solar show. We are very proud to share that our 2021 solar show reached people from over 60 different municipalities and counties, which you can see on this map. With over 2,000 people registered for our show this year, we anticipate excellent reach across our province and around the world once again. In addition to our live online programming this week, we also have great content available on our website from our 2021 show that is still relevant today, including one on solar PV recycling, which we get questions about a lot. We have spaced our sessions out in such a way this year that you could easily view one of those other sessions in between live webinars this week. And for those of you who are solar industry professionals or transitioning into this sector, you will be pleased to learn that we have also now made available all of the paid content from last year's solar show via our new pay-per-download training service. You can go to the training video link in the chat to find those affordable workshops. In addition to some solar show workshops that are industry oriented, this spring, we will once again be running a number of online courses for solar industry professionals or those transitioning into this sector. Our 7 courses are online Tuesday and Thursday evenings on 3 to 5 nights over 2 to 3 weeks. You can already register for all of our courses at the link provided in the chat. Those include the brand new course about working with Alberta's wire providers, which will expand upon the related workshop that was offered yesterday, and the recording will be available soon. Also, if the course you're interested in isn't offered at this time, or it's not offered at a time that works for you, you can now pay to download most of our past course content. These recorded courses are available alongside our paid past solar show workshops in the new solar training video section of our website. We would like to take this opportunity to encourage you to join Solar Alberta as a member. For this week only, we are offering a discount on our individual and student memberships. To celebrate having turned 30 in 2021, from February 7th to 11th, you can purchase an individual or student membership with a 30% discount. The link to become a member is also being placed in the chat. On March 16th, we will be hosting our annual general meeting, and I would like to invite you all to sign up as a Solar Alberta member. Then you can attend the AGM and elect your new board. There are a number of vacancies to fill on the board this year. If you are interested in applying to serve on the board, you can do so through our website until February 18th. If you can't quite commit to board work, but are looking to support the work that we are doing at Solar Alberta, please consider volunteering or donating. Volunteers are eligible for free membership and $100 off of a course each year after committing 15 hours to Solar Alberta. The links to sign up as a volunteer or donate are also now in the chat. And last but not least, I want to take this opportunity to mention that this past year, Solar Alberta won an Emerald Award. As part of our Emerald Award, the Emerald Foundation kindly made a short documentary about Solar Alberta. After the session, you can feel free to check it out in the link we are sharing now in the chat. We are incredibly proud and thankful to have been recognized in this manner for the second time in our history. And now I will pass the mic over to Lewis Percy from the City of Calgary to introduce us to the City of Calgary and today's panelists. Thank you, Lewis.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Percy. It's great to be here, and I'm very excited that the City of Calgary is sponsoring this session today. And I'm looking forward, as I'm sure you are, to some fantastic presentations in a few short minutes here. First, I just wanted to bring your attention to a couple of new initiatives that the City of Calgary's climate team has worked on in recent months, and I think that would be of interest to a lot of the people here today. The first of those is that the City of Calgary has recently completed an update to our own solar potential map on calgary.ca. The new map is called the Solar Calculator and actually launched this morning. And this can be used for homeowners to try and decipher the solar potential of your roof area and also get an estimate of the financial viability of an installation. You can find the new solar calculator on calgary.ca at calgary.ca/solar calculator. I'd also like to draw your attention to another initiative that the city is progressing right now, and that's work on our Clean Energy Improvement Program, or CEIP. So the City of Calgary is currently working on the program design for CEIP, and this will allow eligible homeowners to apply for financing of up to $50,000 for clean energy improvements, one of which is solar PV systems. And the idea here is that you repay over time via your property tax bill. As I say, this program is in development, but we're anticipating that it will launch sometime in the late fall of this year. So please keep an eye out for that. And if you want to find out more, then you can go to calgary.ca/CEIP. A few of those links, both of those links and a couple of others, hopefully will be pasted in the chat for you there. So when you have some time, please go ahead and take a look at what we're offering here at the City of Calgary. So enough of that. I'd now like to introduce our speakers for today's session. So our first speaker is Jodi Conuel. So Jodi is the Shift Climate Transitions Program Coordinator at the Biosphere Institute of the Bow Valley. In this role, she uses a variety of community engagement tools to empower Bow Valley residents to take meaningful action on climate change. Her responsibilities span program and project development to organizing participatory workshops and authoring a monthly newsletter with tips about reducing your carbon footprint. Under her leadership, the Biosphere Institute completed a comprehensive study of the technical and financial feasibility of community renewable energy generation in the Bow Valley, and this evolved into the creation of the Valley Green Energy Cooperative, which is a grassroots, socially responsible organization that aims to facilitate the creation of community-owned renewable energy generation projects. And it was in fact the first organization to install community-owned solar in Alberta. Jodi is motivated by a long-standing interest in climate change issues, sustainable living, and human-wildlife conflict resolution. Before joining the Biosphere Institute, her career focused on human-wildlife conflict, mitigating the environmental impacts of development projects, and habitat enhancement. Next speaker is Alicia Couto. Alicia is an entrepreneur, lecturer, teacher, and an advocate of renewable energy and energy efficiency in Canada. Alicia is a sessional instructor of Lakelands College's Sustainable Energy Technologies program and the co-owner of Couto Consulting and Engineering Limited. Currently, she's working on a project with Decentralized Energy Canada and the Stewards Council of Canada to develop a policy roadmap to identify strategic relationships with relevant standards development organizations and to influence the standardization landscape in the energy sector to meet industry priority objectives. She's also a founding member of the Renfrew Solar Garden, which is a community-owned renewable energy project slated for installation in 2022, and has been an active board member with Solar Alberta since 2019. Alicia is currently pursuing her master's in sustainability at the University of Saskatchewan, and her mission is to help communities in their transition to being more green with energy efficiency programs and renewable energies. Our final speaker is Rachael Gradeen. So Rachael is the Community Energy Program Manager at Decentralized Energy Canada. Rachael manages Project Jumpstart, which is a program dedicated to empowering Alberta's rural and Indigenous communities to kickstart their community energy generation ventures. She's also the marketing specialist for Iron Core Solar Structures, Canada's leading specialist in solar support structures. And she's also about to put out a podcast shortly about the just energy transition through Global Shapers YYC. She has a professional background in environmental sciences and a master's in sustainable development from Uppsala University in Sweden. And she's also passionate about sustainable development and brings a holistic perspective to community generation. So that's it from me on the introductions. I'll now be passing the mic over to our first speaker, Jodi.
Thanks, Lewis. I'm going to share my screen here, so just Give me 1 second. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. Please let me know if we're having any technical issues. And I just really want to start by saying thank you to Solar Alberta for inviting me here today to talk about navigating community generation, specifically in Alberta. My name is Jodi Conuel, and I am a founding board member of the community generation organization Valley Green Energy Cooperative, and I have been with the co-op since our humble beginnings back in 2019. For a little bit of background, community generation in its purest definition refers to renewable energy that is distribution system connected and provides economic benefits back to the communities that invest in it. Community generation allows communities and citizens to directly participate in energy projects through full or partial ownership of these projects. So to start, a brief introduction to Valley Green Energy Cooperative. We are a community-owned social enterprise with the vision of making renewable energy affordable and accessible here in the Bow Valley. Our mission specifically is to empower our community to reduce its environmental impact by pooling human and financial resources to foster the development of renewable energy generation projects, and to lead our community on the transition to a more sustainable future. Now, despite being a key solution to tackling the climate crisis, the feasibility study that Lewis mentioned into renewable energy generation, hosted by our partner organization, the Biosphere Institute of the Bow Valley, back in 2019, identified 3 major barriers to participation in renewable energy. First of all, many households rent or reside in multi-tenant buildings. Secondly, some buildings simply don't support the installation of renewable energy infrastructure. For example, your roof might slope to the north, or you just can't afford the initial capital investment. But despite these barriers, people still identified their interest in supporting the renewable energy transition, and our co-op provides people with the means to do so. So how does it work? Well, at a sky-high level, there are 4 easy steps. First of all, Valley Green Energy identifies a host site. We undertake initial surveys and negotiate a power purchase agreement. Once we identify a suitable host site, we then reach out into the community to attract local investment and use that investment to purchase, install, and electrify a renewable energy system which we install on that host site. Once the system is operating, Valley Green Energy collects money from the host in exchange for renewable energy, and then we divide up the income. So a portion goes to our social benefit fund, which is to be reinvested into more community projects. Some of the money goes to provide dividends to our investors. And obviously we need to make sure that our base costs are covered. In order to make this work under the provincial power generation regulations, we install our renewable energy systems behind the meter under the microgeneration regulations. Microgeneration, for those that don't know, is what you think of when you see solar panels on a rooftop around your town. Those panels generate electricity, which flows into the property. And any power that is excess to the needs of the property is exported to the grid through a bidirectional meter. Because the meter is bidirectional, during periods of low electricity production, say at night or in the winter, the property can still draw power from the electrical grid as needed. Now, community generation in its defined form is currently enabled through Alberta's small-scale generation regulation. This regulation allows electricity generators to sell their electricity directly to the distribution grid. Small-scale distribution renewable projects, such as a field of solar panels, can cost upwards of $1 million, which renders them unaffordable for most community organizations like ours, especially if it's an inaugural project or you're a fledgling organization. Raising $1 million is a lot of money to find. This is why Bow Valley Green Energy created our unique business model, which operates under the microgeneration regulations to circumvent this barrier. Now, while this does mean that we are not strictly community generators as defined by the provincial power regulations, we do consider ourselves to be community generators because we are using community funds to install renewable energy and providing benefits back into the community by doing so. So as mentioned, we manage our business model by asking host sites to sign what we call a power purchase agreement, or a PPA, where a host site agrees to have solar panels or another form of renewable energy installed on their property, and they pay a set rate for 100% of the energy generated by those panels for a set period of time. The rate is calculated using an in-depth financial model, which takes into account a host's current tariff rates, projected grid electricity prices, and the proposed generation capacity, to name but a few of the variables. It's really important to note that each PPA is uniquely and collaboratively designed for each host site to ensure that the individual needs of the property is met. So they say the proof is in the pudding. Well, this is our pudding. Bow Valley Green Energy installed our inaugural project in August of last year at the Ralph Connor Memorial United Church, situated in Canmore. Since then, this installation has generated 1.5 megawatts of power and offset 1.5 tons of carbon dioxide. That is the equivalent of planting 71 trees, and those numbers are only increasing on every sunny day that we have. And we're not stopping there. We're currently working with multiple potential host sites across the Bow Valley and beyond in the early phases of project development. But I can tell you about these particular projects that are upcoming and targeted for this year. We intend to install a 24 kilowatt solar system on another local church, St. Michael's, and a 98 kilowatt system on a new development currently under construction in Canmore. So now that I spent some time talking about who we are, how we operate, and what we're doing, I want to turn the focus to how you can get involved and champion community generation here in Alberta. You can start by advocating for the renewable energy transition. And honestly, you can do that every single day. The first step is to learn about renewable energy and community generation initiatives and just talk to people about them. Another barrier that we have identified to the uptake of renewable energy is misinformation. And Bow Valley Green Energy and the Biosphere Institute are working collaboratively to combat that. So if you're interested in learning some compelling facts to dazzle your friends with about solar energy, such as Clean Energy Canada estimates that by 2030, Canada will see an additional 208,000 jobs created in the clean energy industry. You can check out a dedicated myth-busting page on our website to get more facts like that. It's our view that both the small scale and the microgeneration electricity regulations could be tweaked to better support community generation and the onset of renewable energy transition in Alberta. And organizations like ours and Solar Alberta are working to advocate for change that could be beneficial to our initiatives. And you can reach out to our organizations to see how you can help advocate and have your say. But that's not all that you can do. If you have been inspired by the work of Bow Valley Green Energy today, you could always set up your own initiative in your local community. But this does come with a word of warning. As simple as this looks, it is hard work, and you and your team need to be prepared to put in the hours. As noted, it took us 2 years from inception to the installation of our first project. And during that time, our group has put hundreds of hours of volunteer labor into these projects. A quick shout out to Jeff Roberts, the chair of Valley Green Energy, who's on this call, for some of the amazing work that he's done. But if that doesn't dissuade you, please note that our partner, the Biosphere Institute, supported by the Alberta Eco Trust Foundation, is currently working on a step-by-step guide to help other groups become successful community generators using our microgeneration model. This document will aim to provide insight, resources, and templates. It is currently a work in progress and under development, but if you are interested in starting your own community generation initiative, please reach out to us or them to find out more about that resource. And finally, if you are interested in becoming a community generator yourself, just reach out to any of the other organizations in Alberta and beyond. We are a community of community generators, and we do like to help each other out. So you'll definitely be able to find some guidance from us and from others. Now, if that all seems like a bit too much work, you can easily support existing community generators. So we at Valley Green are always looking for new volunteers, or friends, as we call them, to help support our ever-increasing workload. And as any co-op would be, we're looking to recruit and welcome new members. And right now, as previously noted, we do have multiple projects coming down the line in need of investment. In addition, if you own a commercial property, or perhaps have connections with a socially minded organization that is interested in installing solar panels, but you're short on capital, you might be the perfect fit for a host site. So if any of that is of interest to you, please check out our website or reach out to us to learn more about how to get connected. And finally, a quick note that other Alberta-based co-ops are available. Be sure to check out your local organizations to find out about their work and how to support them. Well, that's enough for me. Please don't hesitate to reach out on this Connect That email listed here. If I've touched on anything today that is of interest to you. I'm going to drop some of the links I mentioned into the chat, and I do look forward to connecting with everyone in the Q&A. And now I'm going to hand over to Alicia from the Renfrew Solar Garden. Thank you.
Thanks, Jodi, and we appreciate the plug there. As you mentioned, this is the spirit of collaboration and not competition. So we are definitely here to help raise each other up and, inspire other communities to maybe do the same. So thanks for that. Great presentation. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to get my presenter view on here. I don't know why. There we go. Perfect. Welcome. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks to Mackenzie and Lewis and Jodi for those intros. I'd first like to acknowledge that I am joining you today on Treaty 7 territory here in Calgary, the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina Nation, the Ayaksee Nakota Nations, and the Métis Nation Region 3. This sacred gathering place provides us with an opportunity to engage in and demonstrate leadership in reconciliation. So I do appreciate you joining us today. My name is Alicia Couto, and I am one of the founding members and the Director of Communication for the Renfrew Solar Garden. So first, to begin, a little bit about our community. So the community of Renfrew is a very community-oriented community, and our community association is entirely run by volunteers. So we do rely on highly motivated community members to make things happen in and around our community. We are a progressive neighborhood with many residents who've already adopted low waste and energy efficient lifestyles, including numerous community assets such as our community garden as well. So we've also built a sense of community through various events and programs and activity. Pre-pandemic, we would have pub nights that hosted beer tasting. We're known for pretty epic stampede parties, jelly bean dances for the kids in the community, as well as our community ice rink, which is entirely run by volunteers. And this last summer, we also implemented Food Truck Wednesdays, which provided community members an opportunity to gather outside and enjoy some great food and support some local businesses as well. So a bit about the genesis of the Renfrew Solar Garden project. In 2019, two things had happened. So first, the small scale generation regulation came into effect as of January 2019. And this enabled the distribution of small and medium solar applications and is an excellent way to evolve our electricity network here in Alberta. Secondly, the now defunct Energy Efficiency Alberta and the Municipal Climate Change Action Centre, or MCCAC, have started a new program to test this new regulation. And community associations, just like the RCA, were the perfect target market for these projects. So community member Paul Gill, who this was his brainchild, he's a huge champion for solar here in our community, owns a Tesla, has solar on his roof already. And Paul had applied for the grant funding for this program in hopes of making community generation project a reality. So luckily, the community Renfrew was recipient of this funding, and this provided us, the opportunity to be able to host open house events for community engagement purposes. It helped us cover the cost of the feasibility study for this project, and it was also the perfect program to test the waters for small-scale solar generation regulation that had just come into effect that year. So another thing that had happened in 2019 was the Calgary City Council approved the resilience strategy, which directs them to explore opportunities in retraining and reusing human and capital assets in order to diversify our economy. And the Renfrew Solar Garden was directly aligned with this initiative and the strategy, so it was the perfect fit. So the mission began to find the perfect site for this community generation project. The TELUS Spark Science Center is located in the boundary line of Renfrew and is really just a jewel of our city. When it opened in its current location in 2011, it was first purpose-built science center in the country in 25 years. It attracted hundreds of thousands of visitors over the last 12 years it's been in operation, and opens doors to the world of science, technology, and innovation. The building is certified by Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, or the LEED program, which provides standards for green building and renovation. So as a LEED Gold building, it's environmentally efficient in heating and cooling, and it uses gray water in its toilets. It already has solar panels on its roof, and up until the COVID-19 crisis, it didn't use any bleach or toxins in any of its cleaning supplies. Spark exists to entertain people of all ages and creative encounters with science and technology. And through visits to Spark and encounters with Spark in the community, people feel lifted up by the positive power of curiosity and experimentation and problem solving. So it's really the perfect location to combine the power of science through solar energy, as well as meeting its sustainable mandates. So at this stage, we had the perfect trifecta. The Renfrew community had bought into this. The city of Calgary was willing to allow us to use the land, and the TELUS Spark was on board to purchase our power. There was just one thing missing: money. So through feasibility stage of this project, we determined it would cost nearly $4 million to implement this project. And even though we had a decent amount of community buy-in, which we projected would raise about $1 million from the community, that still left nearly 3/4 of the project that required funding from other sources. And the problem with relying on grant funding to get your projects off the ground is that sometimes it just doesn't come through. And this was the case in 2020. So we were expecting to receive additional funding from another MCCA funding program. However, a couple other little known projects, the Valley Green Cooperative and a few others, were awarded this funding over us. But as I mentioned earlier, to be completely honest, we were extremely happy for those communities. Because any opportunity there is to enable renewable energy projects in this province, we're all for it. So and they've gone on to do some really amazing things and have really carved the pathway out for us and others to come after it. So the project, this project is a solar carport that is located in the parking lot of the TELUS Spark Science Center. It's estimated at approximately 1.2 megawatts. And the project will leverage the best available technology for solar power generation, including high efficiency bifacial panels and rocking specifically designed for northern icy climates. So the project will also include improvements to the parking lot security and lighting systems, along with new gathering spaces at the front of the Spark Science Center. While contributing to the Science Center's programming and exhibit space, the power generated will supply the Science Center with 100% of their annual electricity needs. In addition, the project will include the integration of 4 electric vehicle charging stations using solar panel, thereby fostering a functional interactive science center exhibit on powering vehicles with the sun. This multifaceted project will establish small-scale and community solar while reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and the project will also help address Calgary's approved climate resilience strategy by providing shelter to vehicles from the elements while serving as a beacon for the community of Renfrew and the Science Centre by contributing to the local economy through job creation, technology advancement, and the environmental stewardship. So you're probably wondering how we did end up getting the funding for this project. And the City of Calgary was able to access Alberta's Municipal Climate Resiliency Fund. And they have now allowed us in collaboration to be able to offer a piece of this to our community members for buy-in. And so the legacy of this project, this project is a pillar of how collaborative efforts between municipalities and citizens can work together towards creating a more sustainable future. This project's not only an innovative way for enabling renewable energy projects into urban centers, but also acts as a model that can be replicated both in Calgary and in other communities. This project provides a way for community members to put their dollars towards climate action, even if they don't have the physical means to be able to mount solar panels on their home, whether that's because of poor solar production or the cost, or just because they don't own their home. And another facet of this project is the Legacy Fund, where a portion of the revenue from this project will be put into a pot to enable other communities to take advantage and implement their own urban renewable energy projects. So from its inception, it was really always important to us to be able to pay it forward so that other communities in our city can also benefit from this project. So where are we at today? As you can see, construction is underway, and we are currently in the process of working with a firm to build out the investment apparatus to enable community buy-in, and we're also working on our updated website. So in the meantime, if you would like to join our mailing list, please send us an email to info@renfrewsolar.com, and this will ensure you will be the first to know once everything is ready to go. You can also like the Renfrew Solar Garden on Facebook or follow us on LinkedIn. And lastly, if you are in the City of Calgary, you can call 311 to learn more about this project and how your community can get involved. So thank you to Solar Alberta for allowing us the time today to talk about community energy generation. It's going to be an important component in Alberta's energy transition. And a huge thank you to everyone who's taken time out of their day to log on and learn about navigating community generation. We can't expect this energy transition to happen from a top-down approach, and it's really going to take community involvement from a grassroots level to help these projects come to fruition. So once again, my name is Alicia Couto. I thank you again for joining us today, and have a fantastic day.
All right, I will take it over from here. Let me try sharing my screen. Okay, let me know if it doesn't look all right. But I just want to say thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Alicia and Jodi, for your presentations. They were wonderful. It's nice to see people working in this community generation space. I'd also like to give a land acknowledgement. I'm speaking with you from the traditional territories of the Treaty 7 nations in Southern Alberta, as well as the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. Oh, apparently my screen is in presenting mode. Hold on. I don't know how to fix this guy. If anyone has any tips, I would appreciate it. This one maybe? Okay, 1 second here. Okay. Okay, I will try this again. I'll just do play from start, and I'll just read my notes over here. Okay, well, sorry about that. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you to Solar Alberta for having me. It's wonderful to be here today. So I'm Rachael Gradeen. I'm the Community Energy Program Manager with Decentralized Energy Canada. And I'll tell you a little bit about what we do. So Decentralized Energy Canada is a national nonprofit industry association And we focus on the development of decentralized energy in Canada. We offer a network pathway for businesses, from startups to academic institutions to larger corporations to individuals. That's essentially what we offer. We are Canada's market access hub for all things decentralized energy. And every year we put on this great big forum called the Decentralized Energy Forum, which is a wonderful networking opportunity for people working in the industry or people who are interested in the industry. We usually have over 200 people in attendance. And unfortunately, it has been postponed for the past couple of years due to COVID. But hopefully we can get it up and running for this next coming year. So we will, that would be wonderful if we can do that. So a few statistics about DEC. We have over 10,000 active subscribers worldwide, both on our social media platforms and on our newsletter. We have over 20 years of experience in the industry. We have 105 members across all of Canada. And we represent, or our members represent, over 50% of Canada's provinces and territories. And our members' gross revenue is over $32 billion. A little bit about our programs that we run, as well as our networking opportunities. We have our Jumpstart program, which is the community energy program, which I'm here to speak about today. We also have our Global Matchmaker program, which is with the Global Affairs Canada's Can Export program. And that helps support export-ready Canadian companies get access to foreign markets through webinars and virtual speed networking. We also have our Impact program, which ran throughout last fall, and that was all about raising awareness for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and relating it to the Canadian business context. So if you are interested in learning more about those, we have all our webinars and our panel sessions all up on our website. And finally, we are doing some work with the Standards Council of Canada, and we are helping create a dictionary of terms to be used in the decentralized energy industry, which will help lighten some of the confusion or misinformation or miscommunication that's happening in the industry right now, where different people are using the same term to refer to different concepts or different terms to refer to the same concepts. That's something we're doing, and actually Alicia, who just presented, is our program manager for that. So that's something very exciting. So if you want to learn more about Decentralized Energy Canada, you can head to our website, deassociation.ca. There we go. So now a little bit about community generation. So Jodi already gave us a great overview before, but I'll just read to you a little definition that we've been using at DEC. So community energy is a source of local energy that is fully or partially owned by members of a defined community. Community energy projects strengthen the local economy, they reduce energy costs, and they provide local training and education opportunities. And having a reliable local energy supply reduces vulnerability and improves community resilience when faced with extreme weather events or power grid disruptions. So community generation is very, very important to communities throughout Alberta and throughout Canada. And we've heard a few different versions of community generation today. But with DEC, we're really focusing on community generation where the community itself, so municipality or a council, if we're dealing with an Indigenous group, they're the ones who are heading the charge on the community energy project. And we do specifically work with rural and Indigenous communities with DEC because rural and Indigenous communities do face unique energy challenges. Such as access to energy infrastructure, workforce development, higher than average emissions from energy delivery, and higher energy costs. So that's something that we've been focusing on. So moving on to the next question. So why is community generation important in 2022? Well, DEC released a forecast for 2022 of the top 8 decentralized energy trends. You can find that on our website as well. And we did really see some interest in community generation becoming more prominent through this year. So one of the main takeaways was that, well, decentralized energy just in general helps to increase resiliency against natural disasters. And with that, we are expecting for 2022 the dawn of a new era of insurance coverage. And what that means is that as natural disasters become more frequent and severe, we expect to see different project types receiving different insurance coverage based on how they've been built. So for example, A solar array that's able to withstand higher wind speeds, those more similar to an extreme weather event, are likely to benefit from a lower insurance premium than those that maybe don't have or were built with a business as usual mentality. So that's something that we're forecasting for 2022. We see it really rising in importance in Canada and around the globe. We are also seeing throughout 2021, we saw it a lot and we're expecting it more for 2022. There's going to be more communities that are going net zero as well. So that, given many different reasons, but one of them is the rising importance of emissions reductions, as well as Canada's climate commitments at COP26. So we're seeing that on the rise in 2022. And in tandem with that, we're seeing a rise in energy storage. So that can help supplement community energy projects. Okay, so now I'll dive into our Project Jumpstart. So Project Jumpstart is DEC's rebranded community energy program. And what it is it's the gateway to premium project enablement support for Alberta's rural and Indigenous communities. So we've worked with 4 rural communities in Alberta so far, and we are currently working with an Indigenous community as well. And we have a couple of great testimonials here from Les Quinton in the town of Black Diamond, as well as Amy Fournier of the town of Canmore. And we did some great work with them. A few of the some examples of projects that we've completed with them is we had a community that needed help with identifying the correct technology to use in order to reduce their energy costs and increase their loads. So we were able to help them with that. We also had a community that had a wide array of technologies that were deemed feasible for them. Maybe a third-party contractor had told them that this was feasible, or different academic institutions. So they were trying to narrow down their energy project types and finding the ones that were most in alignment with their community values. So that was something that we helped them do as well. And we also had a community that wanted a review of their local grid system, see where they can make improvements, and offer an overview as to what technologies would be most suitable for them. So that's something that we did with our Project Jumpstart. And as I mentioned earlier, we did focus on rural and Indigenous communities for Jumpstart, as they do have unique energy challenges. And these communities are also vital to Canada's economic growth, as they employ over 4 million Canadians and generate 27% of national GDP. So they're very, very important players in this game. So now I'll move on to a few barriers and opportunities that we found throughout our Project Jumpstart. So one of the main barriers that, of course, I mentioned earlier was that some of the communities were facing too many options. They didn't know where to start. They were trying to identify which options would be most in alignment with their values, and there was a lot of confusion in their space. So they were missing that like kickstart right there. So we were trying to help them with that. Another thing that we found was that sometimes it's hard to find a community champion who is willing to lead the charge with the community energy projects. So that's another barrier that we've noticed. And finally, the age-old question of money. Well, access to funding was another question that our communities had when they were trying to move forward with their community energy projects. So those were the barriers. And so some of the opportunities that came out of our Project Jumpstart to support these communities was we offered third-party technology validation. So we brought in subject matter experts who were able to do a comprehensive review of the technology options that were made available to them or that they wanted us to look at. And we were able to look at the technical financial feasibility of these projects and essentially assist the communities with aligning the technologies with their values the most closely as possible. We're also working on a funding guide right now with our partners at Central Alberta Economic Partnership. And with that, we are compiling, it's essentially a resource of all of the funding that is available for communities in Alberta and in Canada. And the typical questions that are being asked in these funding applications, how much they can cover and that kind of thing. So that's another opportunity that came out of this, was creating this guide. We also put out the Community Energy Guidebook and Toolkit, which is based on DEC's 20 years of experience in the industry. And it offers a primer on Alberta's electricity grid, impact benefit agreements, case studies, kind of everything that you need to know if you're looking to get involved in the world of community energy and you don't know where to start. So this offers a really nice primer on the topic. And we also offer that to our clients as well, so that they had this support in the background if they needed it. And of course, the obvious opportunities that exist with all community generation is that it increases energy sovereignty. So communities feel like they have more control over their power, and they feel there's more peace of mind if there's any sort of energy like grid disruption. They have this backup source of energy that they can rely on, as well as, of course, these community energy projects can help better align the community with its values, or they can essentially, if they're looking to, say, go net zero, to reduce their emissions or to align themselves with the Sustainable Development Goals, for example, whatever their values are, then community energy projects are a wonderful way to move forward with that. For example, SDG 7, Affordable Clean Energy, or SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. These are, community generation is a wonderful way to move forward with that. And I think that is it. So thank you, everyone. I want to say that Jumpstart really showed us that there's a lot of opportunity in this community generation space, and we encourage people to be the community energy champion and to move forward with your community energy projects, because they're very valuable, and yeah, they really help align communities with their values as well. So yeah, if you want to find out more about Jumpstart or about DEC in general, you can head to our website, deassociation.ca. And if you want to get in contact with me, you can contact me on this email address that you see right here, and I'll pop it in the chat too. So I think that is it for me. Thank you, Mackenzie. I'll pass it back to you.
Excellent. Thank you all for your excellent presentations today. I'll ask you to turn on your cameras and we'll get started with the Q&A. A reminder to our participants, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in that Q&A box, and you can use the little thumbs up symbol in the Q&A box to upvote the questions that you would like answered the most. We'll start with one question. Rocky is asking for the Renfrew, oh, I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. The Renfrew community, how big is it for population size to start?
Population, we're just under 6,000 people.
Perfect, thank you. And then we have another person who's wondering, saying thank you for the presentations and the leadership in this space. They were wondering if you could touch on the return on investment for community investors and financial benefits received.
I'll pipe in really quick, Jodi, because I have a very short answer. We're currently in the process of developing all of the numbers with a firm. So at this time, I can't actually speak to that, but more information to come. So just like as mentioned, you follow us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, or send us a request to be added to our email list. We'll get you all that information as soon as we have it. Jodi, you could probably speak to how BVGEC works.
Yeah, so we're targeting a 2.4% return on our investment. We're asking people to invest a minimum of $1,000, which is buying 20 shares at $50 a piece. And we ask that that investment is made for 20 years. This is the best way that we've been able to find how to make our economic model work, stretching it out over a long period of time. As we move forward, we will be aiming to shorten that time frame, but for now, this is the way the money goes around when we've got such little in our bank account, so to speak, for turnover, being a relatively new organization. I would say that we have raised almost $150,000 on our first share raise. So that's really exciting. We can see a lot of people interested in what we're doing, and obviously believing that 2.4% is enough of an investment return to invest in what we're doing. And primarily we like to talk about not just the percentage return, but like all the other benefits to community generation that comes with that investment. So you're helping people invest in our local community, you're creating environmental benefits, and eventually you'll be also creating social benefits to the community as that money starts to flow back into the community. If you'd like more information on Valley Green Energy's investment portfolio, I can share a link in the chat, but it's all the information is available on our website. We are still raising money, as mentioned, for those new projects that are kind of coming down the pipeline. And our share offering should be open until September of 2022. We are also looking at developing a secondary investment raise. So right now, the only people who can invest in Valley Green Energy are accredited investors and what we call friends and family. So people with very close links to our organization. We are working on an offering memorandum, which will allow us to open up the doors to investment from anyone who is a member or a community member. But that particular legal document takes a lot of time and energy to create. So we started off with the more simple one for accredited investors, and we're working on the offering memorandum as we speak. So hopefully that will be available in the coming months. So if you're interested, you can sign up for our newsletter and you'll be told when that's available to people. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Excellent. Next, we have a question, and they are wondering, for DEC, how did you find the communities that you're currently working with?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we had a combination of communities that we were working with, and given DEC's wide network, we had some of our members who were communities who wanted to join our Jumpstart program, so we were working with them. We also had some people actually came up to us and approached us about doing a project together. So that was our Indigenous partner that we're working with right now. They came to us, so it's been a combination of different ways of working with communities.
Perfect, thank you. Next, we have a question, and they are asking if can private landowners contribute to community generation projects? For example, a farmer with an empty field, how could they help? Or is there a way for them to help?
Yeah, I can jump in here. So there's several ways that you can help. One of the things that community generators are often looking for are potential sites. So if you're willing to put up your land for use as a solar or wind farm, that is certainly something that people would be willing to talk to you about. I'm sure that there could be some financial agreement made in essentially renting that land. So absolutely. You can also invest as a business or as an individual into the community generation on a project on your land. So you can kind of get joint benefits if you're not able to just invest initially. So primarily, I think it would be allowing your land to be available to community generators and letting them know that you have that and you're interested.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next question, which is, where should people look to start their community generation projects, and what type of resources are available?
Yeah, I would direct people again to our Community Energy Guidebook and Toolkit. It's very comprehensive. We had reviewers from throughout Alberta who were contributing to it as well. Yeah, it's a wonderful resource if you're looking to get started in the area, to get your foot in the door. It kind of gives you a background on everything you need to know. That's on my end.
And I'll say, you know, having conversations within your community, I mean, even this just started with a conversation over beers, you know, two and a bit years ago. So yeah, it's usually ground up. It's usually community members just getting together and trying to make this happen. I encourage you, I can't speak for Jodi, but myself definitely, if you wanted to reach out, you can add me on LinkedIn and we can further this conversation and how exactly the resources you need, who you can contact.
Oh, I think Alicia's frozen, so I'm gonna.
I think so too.
And kind of continue with the line of thought that she had is, One thing that we found incredibly helpful when we were starting up was just reaching out to everyone who you think might be able to help. And it's not just community generators such as us and Alicia in Alberta. Reach out to people in Ontario. There's some really well-founded community organizations out in Ontario, like ORIC and SolarShare, who are all more than willing to help you, talk to you, guide you. There's also the Alberta Community and Cooperatives Association. They were a big support to us in getting our cooperative off the ground. So I'd suggest reaching out to them. But yeah, as Alicia said, just talk to people and reach out to others who've been there, waded through the mud. You know, there's no need to recreate the wheel. We're all in this together, and we all look to support each other to enhance renewable energy as best we can.
Excellent, thank you. I'm glad to see Alicia's back with us. Ken is wondering if there are other costs being included after installation, such as maintenance, snow removal, and damage insurance.
Yeah, so all projects do have operational costs associated with them. This is all built into our power purchase agreement. So the cost that we charge to the customer, it's all built in there. I can't give you any more details than that because this is not really my forte. But generally, we have a very small pot of money that goes towards operations and maintenance ongoing. One thing I would note about snow removal is that you have to be very careful that you don't spend more money removing snow than you're going to make generating electricity in the winter. So that's something to take into consideration. But for our project specifically, they're only quite small at the moment, so we don't feel the need to go and shovel snow off solar panels. If we had a megawatt of solar in a farmer's field somewhere, we might be having a different conversation. But again, just one of the things you've got to build into the financial modeling.
Sorry, just to interject really quickly before I got frozen there and kicked off of Zoom. There's also the Alberta Community and Cooperative Association, and we leverage them quite a bit at the beginning of our project as well. So they are a really great resource you can access as well if you're interested in developing your own community generation projects.
Excellent, thank you both. Just to add on to the piece about snow removal, as Jodi was mentioning, for snow removal, it is actually more likely to damage the solar panel than it is to change your efficiency that much. Nate did a study in 2018 that showed that snow cover on solar panels only decreases the efficiency of the panels by about 3% annually. So not that big of a difference in terms of energy production. Now we have a question from Mitch, and he is saying that from what he has seen, the interconnection to the grid seems to be a moving target. Is there any advice on this?
Can lobby the Alberta Utilities Commission. Basically, unfortunately, no, I don't have too much I can say about that. Those are regulatory and policies that you know, unless there's change and a loud voice coming from the ethers, I don't know that much will change with that.
Yeah, ditto, Alicia. That's why we created our microgeneration business model, because trying to navigate that interconnection agreement, the cost of it, and all of the effort that needs to go into it before you can even find out if you have a viable project, was just too much for our volunteer-based organization. So sorry, no insight there either.
Thank you both for your input. Kuldeep is wondering if Decentralized Energy Canada or Valley Green Energy Cooperative charge a fee to advise and check feasibility.
That currently is not in. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Rachel.
I was gonna say, yeah, DEC usually does. We offer our services on a fee-for-service basis. However, if you're interested in getting in contact with us, we're happy to have a chat and see what your situation is. And yeah, my email address is in the chat there, so you'll find it.
We do not. We encourage people to reach out and provide us with your site information, and we'll make the assessment. The only time dollars exchange hands is once we have this renewable energy system on your roof and operating. So up until that point, there is no money changing hands, just lots of time and energy. One thing I will say is that because we're a volunteer organization and we are doing everything for free, we ask that you come to us when you know that you want to work with us, and not to use our volunteers as a way to assess your solar potential of your roof, because there's plenty of paid people who will do that for you for free again, and they're not volunteers. So once you've kind of looked through all those options, reach out, give us a call, and we'll have a conversation.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, and the Renfrew Solar Garden, that's not part of our scope as well, but we can definitely help point you in the right directions to some really terrific solar EPCs in the province.
Excellent, thank you all. Now, Rocky says, this is for Jodi. She says that your cooperative is awesome and thank you for your leadership. She is also wondering if you can tell her more about the Community Benefits Fund. She thinks that's what you called it.
Yeah, so ultimately, once we start making some profit, we're a little ways away from that yet, but once we start making some excess profit, up to 25% of that, according to our bylaws, will be diverted directly into what we're calling a community benefits fund. As to what that means right now, your guess is kind of as good as mine, because it's going to come down to our membership. So what we'll do is, once we have some money in that pot, we will reach out to our membership and we'll say, hey, what do you want to do with this money? We've got multiple options. We could reinvest it into additional renewable energy installations. We could invest it into a play park. We could give it to a local school. You know, the options are kind of endless, which is why we'd like to leave it open to our membership once we get to that point. But primarily at the moment, we are focusing on paying back our investors, because they are, you know, our kind of bread and butter as we speak right now. But just to give you an idea, that currently the Ralph Connor project was more of a demonstration project, and we didn't build into it a component cost associated with the community benefits fund, because we kind of did our social good by providing a local church with renewable energy at a lower rate than they are paying for the grid. So we kind of tick the community box for that one. But we are sort of considering a rate of 0.5 cent per kilowatt hour allocated to the community benefit fund as a kind of a minimum baseline. So yeah, it's going to take a little while to get there, to build up that fund, but once it's going, Rocky, you remember, so you'll get a say in what we do.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, the next question is from Christian, and he says, all of the projects we're talking about today are solar projects. Are you aware of any community heat projects you have been involved with or in the province currently?
I have not been directly involved with any heating community generation projects. I don't know of any in Alberta, and that is, I'm not saying that there aren't any, I'm just not aware. I know of a few in Alaska that have happened, and especially because those communities are super duper remote and you know, require ice roads to get anything up there. And they have a lot of biomass around, so they're using district energy community heating systems to be able to allocate kind of the waste materials from those biomass. But I don't know of any in Alberta, but definitely interested in, you know, exploring that further. I think all of these modalities are going to be important in this energy transition, whether it's, you know, district heating systems or wind farms or solar or geothermal even. I do know actually the Drake Landing community in Okotoks has a borehole heating system, but I don't necessarily wouldn't say that's like a community generation project. It was just kind of like built with the community as it was developed. So there are ways to probably do it, but I don't know of any active ones right now.
And I'll just add that the reason I think we all started with solar is because solar is kind of proven, it's easy. We have a lot of data, so we can kind of make those financial predictions and things relatively easily. But Valley Green Energy, I can speak for us specifically, are not averse to other options and other projects. It's just that we're starting with something that we know. So again, feel free to reach out and talk to us if you have an idea that you're looking for community funding on.
We also did some work with DEC. We were looking at CHP, which isn't necessarily renewable, but it is a clean energy alternative. And we did do some work with that side of it as well. We also assessed different types of community generation projects, such as geothermal, and I believe it was, I don't remember now. It's hydro essentially. So we do see a whole array of different technology types in Alberta, but not necessarily saying they're all feasible, but we do see them and we're able to assess them. Yeah.
And to kind of echo, Jodi's sentiment, it was a proven technology. It's scalable. It's relatively inexpensive. So, and we have wonderful production here in Alberta. So why not use what we've got?
Excellent. Thank you all. Michael says, does the Bow Valley Green Energy Cooperative work with any of the Bow Valley municipality facilities, or do they have their own initiatives?
Yeah, so unfortunately for Bow Valley Green Energy, our municipalities are incredibly forward thinking and have already started installing their own renewable energy systems. So shucks for us, but great for them, and great for the transition. We are friends with them, we're talking, they know what we're doing, we know what they're doing, and we're looking to support each other in any ways that we can. Certainly conversations are happening, but as I say, if they have the money to install their own systems, then we're going to let them do that, because we want to help out organizations such as social organizations like the churches that don't necessarily have that capital in the bank to install a renewable energy system. So they're kind of our priority. We'd like to get systems on sites where you're not going to necessarily find them easily or without our support. So.
Great, thank you. Jordan is asking how you found working with the distribution companies who run the lines.
In our case, the wonderful city of Calgary has taken that off of our plate. So I can't speak too much to that because we've had a lot of help from the city of Calgary.
Yeah, and we don't have to deal with them because we're operating under the microgen regulations. So again, no experience or comment there, unfortunately.
Also with Jumpstart, we weren't working with the distribution companies very closely.
Thank you.
However, Mackenzie, I think we did have a working with wire providers
yes.
session yesterday at 3 o'clock. So I think that'll be available on our YouTube channel later this week if you wanted to go back and take a look. Little plug for the solar show.
I was just going to plug that, so thank you. Now we have a question from David, and this will be the last question that we answer in this formal Q&A before we move over to the Zoom meeting. If your question wasn't answered, we'll answer it in that Zoom meeting, just so you're aware. Now, this last question is, does either Bow Valley or Renfrew use the Opportunity Development Co-op investment model to minimize the Security Commission requirements?
Yes. So we are an Opportunity Development Cooperative, and as mentioned, our initial offering is a subscription agreement, which allows us to open our investment to friends, family, and accredited investors, which is exactly operating under those exemptions. And we will be working on the offering memorandum, which again allows us to operate under additional restrictions, which allows us to sell investment to our membership without all the pages and pages and pages of legal things that you need in order to otherwise do it.
Perfect, thank you. Alicia, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I'm not too sure. I'm assuming we're working with a law firm right now, so I'm assuming that they're privy to all of this information. We've kind of handed it off to the experts at this point to deal with all the Securities Commission stuff.
Perfect, excellent, awesome. Okay, so now I will encourage you all to hop into that Zoom meeting. The link has been posted in the chat. Before we move over there, I want to thank our 3 panelists and the City of Calgary for joining us today. It was an excellent and very informative session, and we're pleased to have you joining us.